porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. Hey!
Come on, it's 6 o'clock. Rise and shine.
Some like it cold, some like it in the pot, 9 days old. Mom likes it hot, Dad likes it cold. I like it in the pot, 9 days old. Hey!
Cock-a-doodle-doo! Bob! Bob! Oh!
Is anything wrong? Can we talk?
No, I'll be fine. I'll be just bien.
Sorry.
It's just Caldeferance. It's French. It's feminine. It'll help you grab one of those rotten, stinking men. Caldeferance.
Hey, leave. You know, you were fine this morning. Something happened at lunch.
My frog turned on me.
Yeah, I had some bad tuna myself.
I'm gonna fight for him, though. I mean, do you think I'm pretty?
Of course you are. You're more than pretty.
Gorgeous?
Don't push it, Pig.
Miss Piggy enlisting the help of comedian Joan Rivers in her ongoing romantic quest for Kermit the Frog. In The Muppets Take Manhattan, the third Muppet film. Across the aisle for me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And this is Gene Siskel, film critic for the Chicago Tribune.
Hey, look, Waldorf. It's the frog and the pig. Yeah, looks like they're in love. Yeah. Kind of makes you sick, doesn't it?
This movie stars the Muppets in sort of a Muppet remake of those old Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland movies where the gang gets together to put on a show and take it to Broadway. The name of the movie is The Muppets Take Manhattan, and it's a sweet and funny comedy about Kermit the Frog's lifelong dream. He and Miss Piggy and all the rest of the Muppet gang have all graduated from college now, and Kermit has this faith that they can take their senior class musical and open it on Broadway. And in this scene, Kermit and his friends visit a Broadway producer.
Mr. Price, I'm Kermit, and these are my friends, and we've got a show called Manhattan Melodies that we think you're going to want to produce on Broadway.
Yeah.
It's all about a couple of kids that come to New York City to get married, and it opens with a great number. It goes like this.
Look at me, here I am.
Hey, no singing, okay? Just give me the general idea.
Well, it's all about life in the big city.
Yeah. Big city, huh? But cops, shootings, car chases, that kind of thing?
Well, no shooting stuff. It's more like songs and dances.
Songs and dances? That might be interesting. Nobody cares about shootings anyway. What are you thinking about, big-name stars?
Well, actually, we're going to be the stars.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Huh?
You be the stars. Unknowns. Songs. Dances. Shootings. No shootings. You know what?
Huh?
I smell something.
Why does everyone always blame dogs?
No, what I smell is a hit.
Oh, what?
A hit.
You mean...
Absolutely. I'd be proud to produce your show. Fellas, you're going to be on Broadway.
That's Dabney Coleman as the producer. Later in the movie, Kermit continues his romance with the charming and delightful Miss Piggy. This is one of my favorite scenes of the movie, a flashback to those golden days when Miss Piggy was a cute little piglet. Aren't they cute, all those little baby Muppets? And when they're on their back singing together there, Gene, you could belong to a group like that. You'd fit right in. really make it a quartet. The Muppets Take Manhattan is a lot of fun. It's as good as the original Muppet movie, and it's better than The Great Muppet Caper, which was the second movie. Part of the secret is that the Muppets are allowed to be the stars again this time. Instead of playing straight man, there are a lot of human guest stars. Sure, there are visiting celebrities in this movie, everyone from Brooke Shields to Liza Minnelli to Joan Rivers, who we saw earlier, but the movie belongs to Kermit and Miss Piggy, and don't you forget it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
I think so. It's a lot of fun, and I think that's it. They focus on these two characters. That's the relationship that makes this whole series go, and they just write an interesting little script for these people, a much better script than they wrote for Cannonball Run 2. Here's the other thing, and I think, you know, with all the talk about the ratings going on, this is one of those rarities, a G-rated film. There won't be many this year. And it's very well done. I'm not rewarding it because it's G. I'm just pointing out that if you're looking for this innocent little film that you can take kids to for the first time in their lives, this is it, and a good example of it.
Of course, then you get into the curse of death because adults think it's G-rated, or even teenagers think it's G-rated. It won't be any fun. This movie is really entertaining. Absolutely. Has a lot of energy. Okay. And what I liked was that in the second movie, it seemed like the stars were the humans, and the Muppets were just, oh, look, here's the big guest star talking to Kermit. This time it's Kermit, you know, or Miss Piggy, you know, condescends to acknowledge Joan Rivers, which I think is the way it should be.
Or to put another way around, if you took all the humans out of this picture, it would still be very entertaining.
Yeah, the movie should be about something. That's a helpful tip, I think. When we come back, we'll review a new musical about a man-eating plant. Now, this movie is about something. It's called Little Shop of Horrors.
The guy sure looks like plant food to me.
Our next movie is named Little Shop of Horrors, and this movie has finally done what so many movies have been trying to do for a long time now. It captures some of the same magic as the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which, of course, is a long-running cult hit. And I think that this movie might be the next big cult film. The movie is a romance set in a flower shop where a cute little plant in the window grows up to become a fearsome man-eater. The movie stars Rick Moranis from SCTV as a young wimp who works in the shop, and Ellen Greene in a terrific repeat of her stage performance as the girl that he falls in love with. The plant really starts to like Moranis after he feeds it some blood that he squeezes from a cut on his finger, and the only problem is he only has 10 fingers, and the plant is insatiable.
Oh, boy, here we go again. Come on, I haven't got much left. Just give me a few days to heal, okay? Then we'll start again on the left hand and...
me.
I beg your pardon?
Feed me.
Tooey, you talked. You open your trap, you sing, and you say...
Feed me, Cowboy! Feed me now!
Steve Martin has a hilarious supporting role in the movie as a sadistic motorcycle-riding punk who also happens to have a daytime job. Here he sings about some advice he got from his mother.
I'd poison Guppies, and when I was done, I'd find a pussycat bashing its head. That's when my mama said...
What did she say?
She said, my boy, I think someday you'll find a way to make your natural tendencies pay. You'll be a dentist. You have a talent for causing things. Some be a dentist. People will pay you to be inhumane.
Ellen Greene plays Martin's girlfriend, but he beats her up, and her boss, Vincent Gardenia, is appalled.
Audrey, where'd you get that china?
China?
Audrey, that greasy boyfriend of yours is beating up on you again? Look, I know it's none of my business, but I'm beginning to think he's maybe not such a nice boy.
I got these pots unloaded for you, Mr.
Seymour, look what you've done to the inventory.
Don't tell it, Seymour, Mr. Mushnick.
Hi, Audrey. You look radiant today. Is that new eye makeup?
Little Shop of Horrors has an almost unbeatable combination of gruesome humor, slapstick sight gags, and really funny acting. This is one of those movies where the actors never seem to be straining because everything they do starts out to be so funny anyway, even before they got to the set, that all they have to do is just enjoy it right along with us. The movie has a lot of good-hearted charm in it. It also has what every great love story needs. Not one villain, but two who are trying to separate the lovers. You get your choice here. Would you rather be eaten alive by a man-eating plant or have Steve Martin drill your cavities?
Yeah, doing Elvis Presley. I mean, it's really, that is a funny supporting performance. Yes, I'd like to see him get an Oscar nomination out of that little bit. The movie is quite charming, as was the stage play, which is still running for a long time in New York and now moving around the country. The thing that I want to focus in is that it's a good musical. a well-directed musical, done by Frank Oz from The Muppet Show and all that. There are scenes in the opening of the film talking about people who are living in a downtown rotten neighborhood who want to break out, just like this little kid, that are beautifully done as a sheer musical. So I think that they've made a really complete film, which also was the Rocky Horror Picture Show, done and directed well as a musical. This is not just a series of little bits and pieces. It's well put together.
Well, now, the opening scenes you're talking about have the three black women who are the singing group.
Right.
As I recall from having seen the play, they're new. They're not. They weren't in the play.
I don't remember.
And they give a whole kind of Greek chorus to the whole movie. They come in every once in a while and do sort of like the Trashettes or whatever Bette Midler's backup group is called. They kind of come in and comment on everything. And looking at them, looking at all of the various costumes and situations in this movie, you can almost see that within a year or so, this is going to be playing at midnight with everybody dressing up now like dentists and harlots, I think they were called, rather than the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This movie is going to run for a long time. I'd like to see it again tonight, which is always the acid test.
That is a good test.
We both had a great time, however, at Little Shop of Horrors, an offbeat, upbeat, really funny entertainment that was about romance and a man-eating plant. 2 thumbs up. I hope they don't get bitten off. Somehow at Christmas time, you expect there ought to be at least one movie for the whole family, and this year there aren't any movies, no new ones anyway, that are for the whole family, but there's one I can recommend for most of the family, and that's The Little Shop of Horrors, a musical about a man-eating plant. There is some language in the film, and also even the idea of that man-eating plant that might be a little offensive for the smaller kids, but for 13 and up, which is how it's rated, I think this is a great entertainment.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long.
The name of the plant is Audrey 2, and it likes to eat blood, human blood, blood from the fingers of Rick Moranis, who plays one of the shopkeepers in that store. In this scene, James Belushi walks in on Moranis and his co-star Ellen Greene with plans for how this plant could make them all rich people.
You see, me and the guys at the Home Office have been following this plan of yours, and we've come up with one incredible idea. We're very proud of it.
It's strange, but the plant itself almost takes on a personality in this film, like in this scene where it goes to visit a radio station.
We're listening to the radio station WSTI.
There are a lot of cameo roles in the film, not only James Belushi, but also Bill Murray, John Candy, and a hilarious performance by Steve Martin.
There's always time for dental hygiene, Seymour. You ever seen the results of a neglected mouth? Look, Seymour, this could happen to you. Unless I take immediate action.
What's that?
The drill.
It's rusty.
It's an antique. They don't make them like this anymore. Sturdy, heavy, dull. I'm gonna want some gas for this.
Oh, thank God. I thought you weren't gonna use any.
Oh, the gas isn't for you, Seymour. It's for me.
I think that's some of Steve Martin's funniest work in a long time, and I like this movie. I thought it was funny, and I also thought it had a lot of charm. In fact, I think this film could be the next Rocky Horror Picture Show. After its first run, I think it could run forever on Friday and Saturday nights as people began to really let the movie, so to speak, grow on them. I give it 3.5 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert. Our next movie is not on video yet. In fact, it's still playing in a lot of theaters. But it's my prediction that The Little Shop of Horrors is the first movie since the Rocky Horror Picture Show that has the potential to break through and become a really enormous cult hit at the box office and then later on video at home. The movie stars Rick Moranis and Ellen Greene in a romantic musical that takes place in a flower shop where one of the plants is a man-eater.
Feed me, Seymour. 'Cause if you feed me, Seymour, I can grow up big and strong.
The supporting cast looks like a roll call of popular comedians. Here's John Candy.
Hi, everybody. It's Weird Wink Wilkinson laughing and scratching at you. How's everybody doing today? I got a little bit of a stiff neck. Let me just fix this up. Ooh, that feels a lot better. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff.
Little Shop of Horrors has everything it takes to be a midnight cult film. Weird costumes, good songs, dumb dance scenes, and lots of sex and violence. I think our standards have totally degenerated now at the end of this show. Our brains have been fried by cult movies just like everybody else's. We said earlier that Rocky Horror is still not available on video because it's still doing business at the box office. My prediction is that Little Shop of Horrors will replace Rocky Horror at the midnight theatrical box office. Rocky Horror will then come out on video, and it will inspire the most bizarre pajama parties in history.
We're both in our low 40s, and yet I feel like we're 14 or 15 years old, because that's what this stuff is. I mean, this is elemental movie-going, which is no holds barred, fun entertainment, off the wall, a place you've never been before, avant-garde, dangerous, your parents wouldn't want you to see it, all of that stuff wrapped up. And that's what these movies are.
And then when you bring it home on video, what happens is, I think, mainly with these cult films, we were talking about what is it like to see the movie by yourself. But in many cases, they're not seeing it by themselves. I mentioned pajama parties. Yeah. This is the next generation of pajama parties, with the kids bringing the films home and reciting the lines right along with the old TV set.
Suppose we try this. We find a woman, set a price, and the first man to extract the correct amount from her wins.
Michael Caine and Steve Martin are two con men who try to con each other without being conned themselves in a new comedy named Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Well, a lot of comedies this week. Our first one is called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, starring Steve Martin, and Michael Caine plays a sophisticated con man posing as an aristocrat. Steve Martin plays a lower-class American charlatan. Both men like bilking women out of money. Caine works out of southern France, and when he finds Martin is working his territory, he arranges to have Steve Martin arrested, which leads to a jail scene, a funny one, where Martin tries to remember the name of the one person he knows in town, Lawrence Jameson. That's the Michael Caine character.
I know somebody here. I met him on a train. His name is... His name is James... No, his name is... James Josephson. No. James Lawrence. Lawrence Fells. Lawrence Fangs. Forrest Lawrencetown.
That's a funny bit. Eventually, the two men start working together in an uneasy piece, pretending to be brothers. Caine takes the lead.
Not mother?
No, Ruprecht. She's not our mother. Go on, Diana. You were saying?
Well, I think that the... Ah!
Ruprecht! May I take your trident, sir? Yes. Now, Diana, as you were saying, you don't think the poor should be allowed in museums?
I think the
Ruprecht, don't take the cork off the fork.
Why is the cork on the fork?
To prevent him hurting himself and others.
Caine still wants to get rid of Martin, so he arranges a bet. Whoever fails to bilk a visiting rich American woman has to leave town.
Done. Who's the woman?
Charles.
Yes, monsieur?
Who is that?
Miss Janet Colgate, monsieur.
Who is she?
I believe she is the United States soap queen.
That's Glenn Headley as the wealthy lady. As for the movie, Caine and Martin are individually funnier than the material they've been given. For all of the trickery, we can easily see where this film is going. Still, there are individual big laughs to be had. But it's less of a movie and more of a one-man show, if you follow what I'm saying. It's a close call, but I'm voting thumbs down.
I'm voting thumbs up, Gene, but I think I know what you mean about the plot. In other words, what this plot really needed was the cleverness of a movie like The Sting.
Oh, of course.
Which totally baffles you, because the movie pretends that it's surprising you with all of these reverses, and it really isn't. So you're right about that. It doesn't fool you, but I still think that that doesn't matter that much, because Martin and Caine are so funny, and especially, I mean, in a movie like this, Caine is perfectly cast because he makes such a good rogue. He's the one who's always kind of over on the side looking at everyone with that superior smile and figuring the odds, while Martin is more of the kind of outgoing, less subtle sort of American character. I'm not talking about his acting, but about his character. The two of them together create a real nice chemistry.
Steve Martin is a wonderful clown. I don't think there is chemistry, and that's where the lack of a plot really hurts, because I don't find them interacting. What I find them is two individual performances stuck in a bad script. Two excellent performances.
But I think that here you have two con men, and of course con men are loners. They shouldn't become buddies. I mean, they're in competition.
But they should be in competition in some interesting, connected way. And you knew, as you said, you could figure it out where it was going.
Well, still, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Okay, now let's look at another summer comedy out this week. It's called What About Bob? And this is kind of a psychoanalytic version of The Odd Couple. The movie centers on the two very different personalities and performances of Richard Dreyfuss as an obsessively organized psychotherapist, and Bill Murray is a patient who is so unable to deal with life that he can hardly even leave the house. He covers everything with Kleenex before he'll touch it. Dreyfuss writes a best-selling book about how people can help themselves by starting out with little teeny baby steps. And Murray uses the book to take baby steps all the way to New Hampshire, where Dreyfuss and his family are on vacation. Dreyfuss hates this guy and wants to get rid of him, but Murray finds that the vacation really agrees with him.
I'm sailing! I'm sailing! I'm sailing! I'm sailing!
The more Bob improves, the worse the doctor gets, until finally in his rage he even chokes on some food.
He's turning me loose!
The therapist begins to realize that this is one patient who is never, ever going to leave his life.
Why'd you need to kick Bob out of the house? You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
The key to the comedy in What About Bob is the contrast between Dreyfuss, who is so neat and fussy and tidy and organized, and he has every whisker so perfectly trimmed on his perfect little beard, and Bill Murray is a human unmade bed. They get laughs almost simply by appearing on the screen together, and Julie Haggerty is a good foil as the doctor's sweet and sympathetic wife. The best news about the movie, I think, is that it shows Bill Murray fully back in comic form. This is his best work since Ghostbusters.
Well, I liked Bill Murray in the picture, but I thought Richard Dreyfuss was way, way over the top, even in that last scene there, where he just starts at such a high pitch and getting angry that he leaves himself no place to go in the development of his character. It would have been much more interesting if the guy had been played a really sharp psychiatrist who starts to be controlled and tries to manipulate Bill Murray and gets, blows it maybe at the very end.
That's what happens in the movie.
Not,
I mean, the scene that you're talking to is way late in the movie. What do you mean he has no place to go? That's where he gets to. He starts out very much in control of his anger, very much in control of his emotions, and then only gradually does he completely lose it.
Well, no, my viewing of the picture was that he was angry quite early. Right in the office, no, he's calm and controlled. He can handle this. Very quickly, he realizes the guy is a nut as soon as he arrives at his home. And when that happens, he's angry right at the top.
Wouldn't you be? How would you feel if Bill Murray turned up at your vacation
I am not a psychiatrist, and it would have been much funnier if he had played it quieter.
Charge the groceries to me?
Well, I was hungry. Now, come on, you got to understand that.
Well, what'd you tell him? How'd you get him to do it?
Well, I guess he was under the impression that I was...
Insane?
That's a scene from House Sitter, a movie where Steve Martin is horrified to discover that a woman he hardly knows has moved into his new country home and is passing herself off as his wife. Now, that's nothing new for the character played by Goldie Hawn, who is a congenital liar. But what's intriguing to the Martin character is how quickly he identifies with the lies once he's entered into a pact with Hawn to pretend that they are married. His strategy is he thinks that will help him to win back the woman he really wants to marry, played by Dana Delaney. Goldie is happy to help him out.
So, then he wants to marry me, and he hasn't even seen my face. So what he proposes is, which is, of course, what we did was we got married the next week at the hospital. And when the chaplain said, "You may now kiss the bride," instead of lifting the veil, the doctor unwrapped the gauze.
Meanwhile, Martin's parents fall for the whole charade and begin to like the woman they think is their new daughter-in-law.
Sweetheart.
Yes, honey bun.
Don't you think a reception is a really horrible idea?
No.
I mean, our marriage is in a very ambiguous state right now.
Which is why your mother feels, and I for one agree, that it might be just what the doctor ordered. So you give it a fresh start.
And I, for one, think you're right, Mr. Davis.
And another thing, unless this makes you really uncomfortable, I'd like for you to call me Dad.
Newton.
The broad outlines of House Sitter are pretty familiar. This is the same old story about the man and woman who think they hate each other until they discover that, what do you know, they really love each other. But there's an interesting twist here because they fall in love while they're lying, and their falsehoods build and build into a crazy house of cards, and they have to invent even more outrageous lies to keep it from falling down. The dialogue is the best thing in this movie, and the performances, not only by the stars, but also by a funny assortment of character actors. I liked it.
Now, this is a comedy, right? Roger, the last one was
That's right. No, it's really about marital difficulties, the stresses and strains on a marriage.
This picture didn't make me laugh, so I think I figured out how to comment on this one safely in your presence. Cold Heaven offers fantasy dreamlike sequences which are supposed to make us wonder whether much of the story is just a dream in Russell's head. That stuff is a little corny, although the film does make a good case that every marital relationship is going to have stresses and strains, and that it's a grand indulgence to believe that an affair can solve all your problems. But a mixed thumbs-down review from me on Cold Heaven because of the needlessly convoluted plot.
I always am amazed when you look at a thriller like this and come up with the fact that it offers interesting insights into the stresses and strains of a marital relationship. That's not what this movie is about at all. This is...
It was for me.
Well, I guess it was for you.
Yeah.
All it really is a machine to create mystery and suspense and romance and sexual feelings and terror, and it works on that level very, very well. It's not really a movie, Gene, about marital stresses and strains. It's a movie about its plot. The very part you don't like is the reason this movie was made, in order to fool us and to toy with us in terms of what's really going on, whose motives are really genuine, and who's really alive or dead.
In other words, are you really saying that you don't think I understand how thrillers work? Because to hold on to that thought, Roger, you'd have to say, Gene has never liked a thriller before. What happened when I liked those other thrillers? What I'm telling you is that the best thrillers not only work as thrillers, but they can be even better if they have some intellectual content.
I'm not saying you don't understand how thrillers work. What I'm saying is that in this case, you didn't seem to realize you were looking at a thriller. You analyzed it if it's a marriage picture or something.
No, I said it didn't work as a thriller. I said the one component that did work in it is that Nicholas Roeg and Teresa Russell, the director and a star who happen to be married, are working on a story involving marital life. Why reject that? Why not be open to that? I haven't accused you of not being open to that.
You just did accuse me of not being open to that, but I think we're kind of off the point here. The fact is that as a thriller, I thought it worked and you thought it didn't work.
That is absolutely correct.
Good. I'm glad I got it right. When we come back, Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn tell one lie after another in House Sitter.
You told him you were my wife?
The problem here is that I didn't believe, as I looked at Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn, and certainly Steve Martin is as good a comic actor as exists, I didn't believe that they really liked each other at all. In other words, when they when the thing makes its predictable, and I think you're absolutely right, very predictable turn, I didn't buy it. And the other thing is that I thought that the rhythm was pretty much the same throughout the picture, which is that she's going to be forced to tell more and more outrageous lies.
And so is he. And so is he. And the little shift in their voices when they go from what's real to what isn't real, that little look they get in their eyes is terrific.
I just think I got into this whole rhythm where I knew where they were going with the story, as you did, and I knew exactly how she was going to take me there.
You couldn't have possibly known where they were going to go with their dialogue, though, with those wild flights of fancy, how they met in the hospital, how he fell in love with her without being able to see her.
I just, you know what,
all of that stuff.
No, they just came across to me as written lines. I felt that there was a writer there saying, okay, now we'll make them even more outrageous lies.
Of course, there's a writer there. I mean, you know,
I just heard it that way.
Such things as screenplays.
The rhythm, Roger, is what's the problem.
The rhythm is what was so wonderful about this film, the way it built and made me laugh and made me smile, and the people around me all laughed and smiled.
You only gave it a 3-star review.
That's how many stars I gave it, yes, because I've laughed louder and longer.
Okay, good.
Okay, fine.
Okay, now to our next movie, and it's the story of a little boy who receives a birthday gift of a toy Indian, and it provides him with a wild fantasy life as the Indian comes alive in a wonderful new movie called The Indian in the Cupboard. It's based on a best-selling novel. The film features cutting-edge special effects, but more than that, it has a story with real energy as the Indian and the boy begin to relate to each other.
Were you always this small?
I'm not small. You are big.
But I'm not big. You are so small.
The Indian, played by a Native American actor named Lightfoot, begins to trust the boy, played by Hal Scardino, and theirs is a charming, but still tension-filled relationship.
I can find tools. How about a horse? I can make you a horse.
A horse?
To ride.
Iroquois walk.
There's a bonus in this story later on when a toy cowboy also gets the cupboard treatment. He's played by David Keith. The friend with all the toys is played by Rishi Bhatt, and it's refreshing to see a minority actor cast in this role.
Listen, I'm going to keep them here tonight. I have this under control. Will you bring them to school tomorrow? School?
Everybody's so big.
They're good friends together in this picture. The Indian in the Cupboard is anything but predictable, unlike the Hugh Grant film. And even though it features a cowboy and an Indian conflict, I think it's going to have appeal to more than just little boys. The script was written by Melissa Matheson, who also wrote E.T., and she honors, in both films, the intelligence of young people. Thumbs up for me for The Indian and the Cupboard.
You know, I don't give thumbs up to this movie, and I'll tell you, I thought it was kind of sad and kind of creepy. I think that it will have a strange effect on children. It's one thing to have E.T. in your bed. I was just responding to that question when you interrupted me. It's one thing when you have E.T. in your bedroom who can kind of take care of himself and is kind of bright. But these little 2-inch human beings who have been ripped out of their lives and placed in this situation with this child who seems like a god to them, and then his responsibility for them. There's something very odd about that. It's kind of unsavory. You can't get into the enjoyment of the fantasy because you keep thinking, about the reality.
I'll tell you what kids are going to do. They're not going to be frightened of this or whatever you think they're going to happen to them. They're going to play this game in their own heads with their own little toys.
Well,
you watch.
Kids do because they pretend like their toys are real. But
so why are they going to be frightened by this movie?
Well, another problem is that the story never really has any place to go. I mean, this phony conflict and then the friendship between the Indian and the cowboy and the little moments when they're almost discovered and then they aren't. It's very slow going in the middle of the movie. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, gee, you know, the fact that they're real little people, that they're actually there, brings us into a dimension where it isn't fantasy anymore, and it just doesn't work.
Something coming alive that's inanimate isn't fantasy? I think you're off base.
Of course the guy thinks you're gay. You're smart and well-dressed.
And really clean.
And you're kind of prissy. Prissy?
Kevin Kline plays a high school teacher whose life gets very complicated after word spreads that he's gay in and Out.
In the opening scenes of the delightful new comedy In and Out, Kevin Kline plays a small-town Indiana high school English teacher who is planning to get married in a few days to fellow teacher Joan Cusack. Then a bombshell drops. His former student, Matt Dillon, wins an Academy Award and thanks his old teacher Kline, in the process telling 1 billion Oscar watchers worldwide that the teacher is gay. That's a bombshell for Kline's fiancée and for his parents, too.
Mom? Dad? Is there something you want to tell us?
Something about the wedding.
I'm not gay.
Oh, of course not.
That's Wilford Brimley and Debbie Reynolds as the parents there. The high school principal, played by Bob Newhart, is alarmed at the news, even though Kline insists he's not gay.
Howard, I'd be less than honest if I didn't tell you that I've gotten some calls from parents wondering if in fact you were a
homeroom teacher.
Tom Selleck, in a very engaging performance, plays a tabloid celebrity journalist who comes to town looking for the story behind the story.
Look, all those reporters after today, they're gone. They've got their story. But I care. I am doing a full week.
Week? No, you can't.
Oh, but I have to. It's too good.
No, I have classes to teach. I'm getting married.
I'll be there.
No, I'll kill you.
But it's classic sex, a small town, and a movie star. Why can't you see that? Howard Brackett, In and Out.
Kline and Joan Cusack haven't slept together during their 3-year engagement, but on the eve of his wedding, the groom puts on a display of macho lust.
Yeah, who's gay, huh?
In and Out is hilarious in a sort of safe and feel-good way, directed by Frank Oz, who made Little Shop of Horrors. It's as if Frank Capra had made a movie in which Jimmy Stewart had to deal with his sexuality. It even has a kind of Capra-esque public climax, although I think it's too painfully sincere to match the rest of the movie. The screenplay is by Paul Rudnick, who under the name Libby Gelman-Waxner writes a funny column in Premiere magazine, and Rudnick's screenplay is inspired by the moment when Tom Hanks thanked a gay drama teacher during his Oscar acceptance speech a couple of years ago for Philadelphia. The movie is funny in big ways and in lots of little ways, too, and the performances by Klein, Selleck, and Cusack are right on the money.
Oh, I agree with you for all the reasons that you said, and I'm glad you mentioned Tom Selleck. You know, Sylvester Stallone's getting praise for Copland, for taking movies seriously. Now, Selleck, who was a laughingstock in that Christopher Columbus picture, he's very good here, and he's smart to take this role.
Well, Selleck is basically a comic actor, and that's something that I think people haven't realized about him.
Right.
They try to force him into that action mold because he's tall, you know.
Big, yeah.
And basically he's a very funny actor, and he's funny here and with Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline, who is, I suppose, as good a light comic actor as there is around now in the American cinema. The Rudnick screenplay, I think, is very good, and maybe more powerful than you're even giving it credit for in this way. I wonder if its influence through comedy might be even more liberating than you mentioned Philadelphia, which is, you know, the coming...
Well, this is the first gay movie, if you want to call it that, and I'm sure that they're not positioning it that way in the ads, that is aimed right at a broad middle American audience. This is a sitcom,
and
basically, frankly.
Yes, but it also deals right straight in your eyes with, you know, one of the horrors of gays, that they're going to use the school system to poison all of the world. You know, so there's really a serious core to this very funny movie.
Coming up next, Eddie Murphy plays a pampered superstar in Bowfinger.
Do the thing. Yeah, it's bad. I'm gonna look good in that.
Dave, I'm 49 years old. Admittedly, I could get away with 44, 41, maybe 38. But when you hit 50, they don't hire you anymore. Like, they can smell 50.
That's the premise for Bowfinger, an inside Hollywood satire about a desperate, overextended producer named Bobby Bowfinger, who's trying to land the hottest action star in the world for his latest schlock opus, a sci-fi quickie called Chubby Rain. The star's name is Kit Ramsey. He's played by Eddie Murphy, and he may as well have wandered in from the Hollywood shuffle set with his hysterical racial paranoia.
White boys get all the Oscars. It's a fact. You know that. Look. Did I get a nomination? No, and you know why? Because I ain't playing none of them slave roles and get swift. That's when you get the nomination. Kid, that's what dude play a slave role, that's when you get the nomination. The white boy play an idiot, they get the Oscar. If I should find me a script as a retarded slave, then I get the Oscar.
Bowfinger and his crew have been filming Kit without his knowledge, and when the star disappears, Chubby Ray needs a stand-in. They find a no-budget version in Jif, also played by Murphy.
Would you be willing to cut your hair?
Oh. Yes, but it's usually better if someone else does it. I've had a few accidents.
Jif agrees to be put into life-threatening situations that would make the Blair Witch cast pack up camp. Try this stunt at home.
That was so great. You were fantastic. You were great. Great. Congratulations. It was so good. I don't want to do this anymore.
Steve Martin's screenplay begins as a heavy satire about a Hollywood ghetto mentality where morality is non-existent. Martin's got blaxploitation, ambitiously bad actress, Scientology, and even desperate living on his perceptive mind. But as he does with some of his essays, he trades it in for the glibness that takes over in the last act. Martin's physical comedy, though, is as relaxed as it's been since L.A. Story. But it's the raw, dynamic Murphy who proves once again that he is one of our most underappreciated actors. Add to that director Frank Oz's breakneck pacing, and Bowfinger's a great big laugh.
Oh, I liked it a lot. I really liked it. And I'll tell you, of all the things in it that I liked, the thing I liked best was Eddie Murphy as Jif.
It's really good.
He is so good. In lots of movies, he plays multiple roles. And it's almost always the other role, like the fat guy at the table, for example.
In The Nutty Professor.
Yeah, in The Nutty Professor.
Right.
That's almost better than his straight role. And here, this guy is so likable. He's kind of bashful, and he's so thrilled to be in the movies, and he doesn't quite get it, but he really wants to help, and he is very funny.
Yeah, and he's not a caricature, which is the other thing. I mean, I think another actor probably would not have given that character the humanity or the depth that he gives it. Which kind of makes it which kind of is really great setup for Steve Martin's character.
Oh, yeah.
To come off as a huge, unlikable guy.
Yeah, and what's interesting, too, is that, you know, the premise is they're going to sneak up on this superstar and make a movie that he doesn't know he's in. Right. And you think, well, that's good for a scene or two. Actually, you see them more or less making the
an
whole
entire movie around this one guy.
It's really, I
mean, I just felt, the only complaint I have is that I thought it was really headed for something much bigger than where it actually ends up. But where it ends up is fine. I mean, I'm not going to quibble over it, but I was expecting something way more substantial than...
Well, it's big enough. Okay, next movie.
This whole game is one big long shot, and if you don't have the discipline to stay away from the gambles, then one day you will go down. It's inevitable.
You want me to list the ways I can burn you? We either work this out right now, or I will take you down.
Stepford is the family paradise. It has no crime, no poverty, and no pushing.
Last night I went online and I found out that all of the women here, they used to be
CEOs, executives, judges.
Most people already know the premise of the Stepford Wives in the original film that came out in 1975. A strong, self-possessed woman and her family move to an idyllic suburb where she starts getting some strange vibes. All of the wives here are submissive, sexy, and at their husbands' beck and call. In this updated version, Nicole Kidman is Joanna, an aggressive TV executive who's just been fired after one of her reality shows results in a shooting rampage. Joanna and her husband Walter, played by Matthew Broderick, head for Stepford and a new beginning. He has always been in his wife's shadow, and a submissive spouse is a dream he'd like to see come true.
all of the women are always smiling and having incredible sex in the middle of the day with their husbands.
And that's a problem because?
It's not normal, Walter.
Glenn Close is the town's ultimate fawning female.
Welcome to Stepford.
Joanna is getting creeped out in this distorted atmosphere where the ladies never let their hair down and they even exercise in heels.
Imagine if our husbands saw us in worn, dark, urban sweat clothes with stringy hair and almost no makeup.
There is one kindred spirit, Bette Midler's Bobby, who hasn't been zombified by the men just yet.
Am I the only one who finds all of this more than a little disturbing? We are celebrating our nation's birthday, but there are almost no African Americans, no Native Americans, no Asian Americans.
Aren't you Bobby Markowitz? I love your books, especially the last one. What was it called? It was about your relationship with your mother.
I love you, but please die.
Christopher Walken couldn't be better as the mastermind of this male-dominated fantasy world.
Congratulations. Now you're one of us.
And Joanna, she's a great gal.
Or she will be.
The Stepford!
This is a new and somewhat improved version of the original film, and a wicked sense of humor has replaced the horror of that first movie. There are lots of zingers that make this dark comedy timely and fun. I love the dialogue. Nicole Kidman proves again how versatile she is at comedy, and Midler and Christopher Walken give us characters that make Stepford worth another visit. I give the Stepford Wives 3 stars. I'm Roger Ebert, ABC 7 News.